Good morning and welcome to Pillar to Post. I'm your host, Pete Wall, and you're probably wondering what the hell happened last night. Where was your Monday Night Raw review? I'm going to be completely honest with you. I fell asleep. Honest and for true. I fell asleep. Been dealing with insomnia as of late. And I felt that as soon as Raw started, I wasn't going to make it through. And I made it through the opening and the first match, and I crashed. And I'd wake up periodically through the show, but I just could not seem to get it together and stay awake. Crashed again. I was out till about 1 a.m. around, and just like, well, I'll have to watch it later on and do my show then. So 4 o'clock this morning, I couldn't get back to sleep, by the way. I slept through Raw, got all the way up to 1 a.m., and then I was up the rest of the night. So at 4 a.m. I said, screw it, I'm coming back here to the laundry room, I'm going to watch Raw, and then deliver my review and my results. Now, we had some, what I consider to be big matches tonight, but it didn't feel like a big match type of show. We had plenty of time in those matches. We had a lot of things going on, but all in all, it just didn't have that feel. You know, watching the matches, Bray Wyatt and Dean Ambrose, was it a bad match? No. Was it a great match? Absolutely not. I'd say with all the time they had for this match, they could have done so much better. So much. And now I'm probably going to take some heat for this. Like I said, I'm not saying it was a bad match. I'm just saying it just didn't have that feel for me. And it wasn't the fact that I was, up all night again. It was the fact that it just didn't have that feel. Same with Seth Rollins and Samoa Joe. It didn't have that feel there. And these are matches that should be pay-per-view worthy. There's plenty of action, but you could also see there was a lot of miscommunication when doing the moves. There was some parts that just didn't kind of click for me. It just didn't work. And even the backstage assault when Seth Rollins attacked Samoa Joe, there wasn't enough effort put into it. And you guys can shit on me for this. I really don't care. But they weren't even trying to make it look like their punches were legit. You could see that they were, they weren't really hurting each other. So, to me, when it looks like that, it's like, what the hell was the point? If you're not going to put your A game into it, your 100% effort and your blood, sweat, and tears into it, there's no point in doing it. And same with The Miz versus who the hell did he face? That's my problem. It just didn't feel like a big match. He fought Finn Balor. There we go. And they just didn't seem to connect in that match. You get wrestlers, you get great wrestlers. They can make anyone look good. These guys did not make each other look good. I don't care what anyone says. It just did not have that feel. Am I shitting on Raw for just no good reason? No. I'm giving you my honest opinion. We had, who was it? We had the Boss. Yes, that is a train going through my backyard. We had the Boss, Sasha Banks, going up against Alicia Fox. And I'm sitting there and it's like, for one, what's the point? Sure, yeah, they're actually using another woman for a change that isn't getting much TV time. But it was short. They did not really connect well in the ring. It was nice to see Alicia Fox pull off some moves. Northern Lights suplex, that was a little bit shocker, but then she bridges to the point where there's no weight on Sasha Banks' chest in order to actually get a pinfall to begin with. So it was like, well, that was pointless to do. You know, it's supposed to look real, at least. It's supposed to feel big when it's, you know, guys like this facing each other. It's supposed to have that big fight feel, and none of these matches held water. They didn't hold weight, and they did not connect with me as a wrestling fan. That is what I'm saying. All in all, I don't know. You know, I might get shit on for it, but I'm giving this a 5. I really am. Like, it just did not have that feel for me. The opening, and I'm not talking about when I fell asleep through the show. I'm talking about 4 a.m. when I was watching it wide awake. The intro bored me. It really did. I'm not a fan of Dean Ambrose on the mic unless he is actually taking his shit seriously. When he's actually putting some kind of emotion into it. Here, he just came off as, oh, you know, I'm the GM today. I can be lazy. I can be a half-wit. I don't care what I need to do. I can get through the show. Now, it was good to see him wrestle again for a change. But it just, he doesn't connect well with me. You know, and this is, I don't know how many times he's faced Bray Wyatt already. They just don't sync up. They don't have that big fight feel in their matches. They never do. I don't know what's wrong with it. It can be just me. I don't know. They don't connect with me. You know, so like I said, tops, I'd give it a 5. I'd give it a 5. And I might get heat for it, but I really don't care. I really don't. When it comes to wrestling, you see these guys in the ring, you have to feel everything that's going on in that ring. You have to be able to feel some emotion from both parties. You have to feel or see the storyline working out between the two. And it's like they're just throwing these guys together. There's no story behind them. Nothing. And we're supposed to accept that. And it doesn't jive with me. I don't accept bullshit. Just happenstance, thrown together bullshit. I really don't. To me, there's supposed to be a meaning behind the match. And if there's no meaning behind it, or if they can't tell some sort of story in that match, I can't connect, and it's lost upon me then. So we're going to start into this and go over what happened on Monday Night Raw. And we were, excuse me. See, this was a pre-taped show, so that probably had a feel for it. And the audience was weird too. The London people, they were chanting things at weird times. They were quiet through sometimes, and it was off. You know, the whole show was just off for me. But let's see. So tonight's WWE Raw opens up with a WWE Intercontinental Champion Dean Ambrose walking backstage when he receives a phone call from Raw General Manager Kurt Angle and heads to the ring for a special announcement. So we open up from the O2 Arena in London, England, with Michael Cole, Corey Graves, and WWE Hall of Famer Booker T. And JoJo makes the introduction as Dean Ambrose heads to the ring. Excuse me while I take a quick drink, and I will move right into the show. Now, Kurt Angle announces that, Ambrose announces that Kurt Angle will not be there tonight. The fans instantly reacted with a loud chorus of boos. Ambrose says Angle has named him the acting general manager of the night. Miz's music interrupts, and him and Maryse come out to Standing boo, like a huge chorus of boos. Miz reveals that Stephanie McMahon has named him co-acting general manager for the night. Ambrose says they can work together tonight, but at Extreme Rules, he's going to put a beatdown on Miz and retain his title. Ambrose ends up offering his hand for a shake. They're interrupted, though, by Braun Strowman, who comes out to the ring with a sling over his arm. Now, a thank you Strowman chorus of chants break out, which, everybody is doing lately because of the beating he laid down on Roman Reigns. Braun doesn't care who is in charge. He's going to get what he wants. Braun says he took out the big dog at Payback. But as long as Roman Reigns can walk, he's not finished with him yet. Now, Braun tells them to call Stephanie and Kurt and tell them that he's going to end Reigns once his arm is healed. Now, Braun says when he's finished with Reigns, he wants WWE Universal Champion Brock Lesnar. Now, Braun goes on about Lesnar, but music interrupts, and it ends up being Kalisto. Kalisto says Braun may not be done with Reigns, but he's not done with Braun. Kalisto reminds us how he beat Braun in the dumpster match, but Braun still couldn't take the loss like a man. Kalisto goes on and begs Dean for a match. They go on, and Ambrose makes Kalisto versus Braun for tonight, or I should say last night. Now, Ambrose ends up putting Miz in the opening match against Finn Balor. We head out for a commercial break, and when we come back, it is Finn Balor versus The Miz. Like I said, these guys, to me, just, they didn't have a bad match. It just could have been so much better. Yes, there was, they had a match last week, but, all in all, there was not that kind of storied wrestling that I'm used to, that I enjoy so much. There was none of that in this match. It was kind of it was an average match between these two, and I don't accept it. These guys can do better. They can give a hell of a lot more than they are. So I don't understand it. But we had a little bit of back and forth at the start of the match, and Balor takes control and ends up sending Miz to the floor. Now, Balor sends Miz into the barrier as Maurice watches on, and Balor brings it back in, but Maurice helps Miz and checks on him as we go to another commercial. Now, back from the break, Miz drops Balor for a 2 count. Balor ends up blocking the skull-crushing finale and rolls Miz up for a 2 count as well. Miz drops Balor with a snap DDT for another 2 count. Miz keeps Balor grounded for a bit, and Balor comes back, but Miz boots him. Balor with the overhead kick as both superstars go down. This overhead kick, very similar to the Pele, and it didn't even look like it really connected. This is what I'm talking about. There was a lot of sloppy wrestling going on tonight. Now, Balor delivers another kick, and Miz runs into boots. Balor more offensive and a few drop kicks. Balor with some chops in the corner, and Miz boots him when he comes in running for a third attempt. Miz goes to the top, but Balor kicks him in the head. Now, Miz goes to the floor, and Balor drop kicks him through the ropes, sending Miz to the barrier. You know what? I wrote this all down. I'm not going to bother reading it all because it really isn't worth it. So, what ends up happening? During the match, we have Finn Balor in total control. And looks like he's about to, start picking Miz apart. Miz shoves him into the referee, rolls out of the ring, and grabs a microphone and insists that we cannot have wrestlers physically touching and harming the referee. So he decides to disqualify Finn Balor and award himself with the victory. Well, that doesn't fly with the co-general manager of the night. Dean Ambrose comes out and says, we don't play that game here. We go straight up here and we're going to finish this match. So he restarts the match. And Finn Balor makes quick work of Miz after this and hits the coup de grace for the win. Your winner is Finn Balor. He gets a little redemption from last week. Now, up next, we go backstage and Alexa Bliss is warming up for her match tonight. Nia Jax walks in and mentions how she wants a Raw Women's title shot once Bliss is done with Bayley. Bliss promises to work something out when Kurt is back. Nia says until then, Bliss just found herself a new best friend. Nia tells her to basically informs her it's time to go for a walk. And we come back and it's Alexa Bliss versus Mickie James. Now, if I were to have to pick a really good... This was above average. This was more than a good match. Alexa Bliss was very vocal throughout the match. And she let everyone know she is the major heel in the company right now when it comes to the women's division. Her and Mickey's exchange was pretty good. They worked well together. And, for tonight, I'd say this, to me, was the match that connected the most. Because there was that backstory behind it. There was, give and take in that ring. And they told a story in that ring. That's what I enjoy. These women did it. Like I said, Alexa Bliss, very vocal during the match. Competitive match straight through. Alexa Bliss worked on Mickie James' arm the most during the match. And she ended up taking the win. Let's see. Mickie ends up making another comeback. She goes to the apron, but Nia grabs her leg for the distraction. Bayley nails a crossbody of Nia from the steel steps. Bliss takes advantage of the distraction and gets the pin on Mickie James. So a little bit of outside interference, a little distraction, helped Alexa Bliss take the win. And she did a good job. She, both women sold fantastically. They gave and they took great. It looked good. There was a good exchange. It was the match for what it was. It was above. I'd say this was the better match of the night. One of the better matches of the night. Now after the match, Bliss comes back into the ring and begins to hammer Mickie in the face with some lefts and rights. Bayley makes the save and chases Bliss off to the back. Nia Jax enters the ring and waits for Mickie to get up. Nia with a splash in the corner and a big elbow drop. Nia wipes off her feet on Mickie before leaving the ring and leaving a very prone and disabled Mickie James flat on the mat. Now Ambrose is backstage when Miz walks up and he's clearly upset. Ambrose says Miz can have the night off, but Miz says he had a special edition of Miz TV scheduled tonight with the former members, or one of the former members of One Direction. They argue and Miz puts Ambrose in a match against Bray Wyatt for later on tonight, which would be the main event of the night. So now we come back from break and Charlie Caruso is with Samoa Joe. He cuts a promo, and Joe is really good with his promos. I'm not going to shit on his promo. It was really good. Seth Rollins' attack and their little exchange back and forth in the backstage looked like garbage. It looked like garbage. These guys, you could tell, were barely touching each other. And when you are actually doing a backstage, a hallway fight, backstage fight. You have to sell it. You have to make it look real. These guys did neither. Looked terrible, and it looked like crap. So, moving on, we got Braun Strowman versus Kalisto. This match never really got started. Braun Strowman grabs the mic and basically says that, or calls Roman out and calls him a coward. Reigns finally comes out, delivers 3 Superman punches, finally taking the big man down to the knee. He ends up sending him, Braun Strowman to the outside. He rushes in for what looks like a spear or another Superman punch, and Roman Reigns gets booted right in the chest. Now, after this, both men recover a little bit. Reigns gets the upper hand and begins to work on the arm of Braun Strowman, the one that's in the sling. I believe it was his left arm. Now, there is more to this story. There is a reason for why this happened on Raw tonight. Now, it was pre-recorded, but that's because they're overseas. Now, in the end, Roman Reigns ends up beating Braun Strowman with a steel chair, uses the steps, uses the apron to injure that arm even further, and Braun Strowman ends up leaving through the crowd, while Roman Reigns is inside the ring celebrating. Now, the reason why this had to happen tonight, Braun Strowman does not have any torn rotator cuff, and Roman Reigns doesn't have broken ribs, internal injuries, what have you. But one thing that Braun Strowman did have was a legit elbow injury. So this was to basically sign Braun Strowman off for 2 months. He has to get a surgery on his elbow, recover for 2 months, he'll be back. That is what was the reason for it. He's going to miss out on the upcoming pay-per-view, but it can't be helped. It needs to be done. It needs to be taken care of. And in order for him to be the monster among men, he needs to be able to work at a higher level. And with an injured elbow, he's not going to be able to do that. So we're going to move on. And get announced that there will be a match between Samoa Joe, and Seth Rollins later on tonight. We see Goldust and R-Truth backstage getting ready for the Tag Team Turmoil, which I want to talk about a little bit because I fucking hate Tag Team Turmoil matches, but I'll move into that later. Tonight is the night they become #1 contenders, or else they're hoping. Truth goes back to listening to music, but Goldust wants him to, a pep talk. Truth is ready to go shock the world as we go into a commercial break. Now the Tag Team Turmoil starts with Enzo and Cass with Cesaro and Sheamus. But before we get into this match, I want to talk about something. You have a 3-hour show. You have how many weeks up to this pay-per-view? So, in order for every team to look good and look strong, get some good TV time, could have been a mini tournament. Just a mini one. Let's see, how many teams? We had 4 teams tonight. So, we could have had 2 tag team matches tonight. Could have had Enzo and Cass versus Cesaro and Sheamus, like it started off the match. And then we could have had Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson versus the Golden Truth. And then next week, we determine from the winners when they meet in the ring for one last match to see who the #1 contenders will be. But instead, we get Tag Team Turmoil. We get 4 teams lumped up in one match. Surprisingly, the first match was longer than I thought it would be. But all in all, it was a very short Tag Team Turmoil. And you had one team look strong throughout the entire Turmoil match. Cesaro and Sheamus started the match off with Enzo and Cass, and they beat everyone out. and made them look weak. Heath Slater Rhino might as well have not even been included in this because Rhino didn't even get in the ring. Heath Slater didn't really get any action in except for the little brawl that started off their match. Other than that, it was just Cesaro and Sheamus beating the shit out of Heath Slater. Enzo and Cass, they did better. I should say Cass did better. Enzo got in, he got a few moves in, and then got his ass handed to him. Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson didn't do too bad, but, you know, with a lot of time, they didn't get much action in, and in the end, they looked weak as well. And then you have the Golden Truth that have been off of TV for how long, or I should say, not inside the ring. And they basically jobbed, big time. So what was the whole point of this? It would have been better to help strengthen each team by doing a mini tournament. You know, 2 matches tonight, 1 next week, and you have your number 1 contenders. Everyone would have got proper time. No, not going to happen in the WWE in this day and age because tag teams basically mean nothing. This is why I'm surprised that the Hardy Boys did come back. I love it that they're back in WWE, but I'm shocked that they would consider WWE knowing how they treat tag teams in this day and age. Didn't make sense to me. But your number 1 contenders are Sheamus and Cesaro, which we knew would happen going into this. It's just, it astounds me how weak they make the other teams look just to build up Cesaro and Sheamus, when everyone could have come out looking strong in a great match of their own. But no, they had to squash these guys and make them look pathetic so that way, you know, Sheamus and Cesaro look good going into their next title bout. So, now after the match, Cesaro and Sheamus stand tall. Sheamus nails a brogue kick on Goldust. They attack R-Truth next as fans begin to boo. They clear the ring and stand tall until the music hits, and out come your Raw Tag Team Champions, the Hardys. To, you know, pyro. They weren't there to save anyone. They were just there to basically, you know, at least put an appearance for this show. Now they ran down to the ring. Sheamus and Cesaro exited, and Matt Hardy began a delete chant. And Cesaro decided to stomp on R-Truth as he left ringside. And that was the end of it. So, up next, Samoa Joe, Seth Rollins, which should have been a great match. These guys should have had the performance of the night. And I'm not going to call it that. I'm going to say it was an average, 5 out of 10 match. I'm not going to give it more than, a 5. If I'm doing on a scale of 1 to 10, I give it a 5 at the most. At the most, a 5. I'd even actually say 4. But someone might say I'm exaggerating a little bit. But, for what it was a match. They got good time. There was a lot of sloppiness in this match. There was a lot of moves that weren't connecting the way they should have, appeared to connect. When they were punching each other, it was just off. It just did not. It didn't work for me. These guys are known to do better. And basically this match showed how much endurance both men have. And for Samoa Joe, his size, his weight, he's got great endurance. He can last in a match, and he did very well with that. They both look strong, but again, the match looked sloppy to me. It didn't click. There was no real big effort put into this match. And I'm sorry if you're disagreeing with me, or I'm just seeing it wrong tonight. I don't know. But to me, it was just a blah match, just an average match that could have used a lot more. And now maybe it was the fans, maybe it was the wrestlers, maybe it was me, I don't know. But all in all, an average match, and for the amount of time they got, they could have done so much more. It could have looked so much better, and it didn't. And that is my review on that match. Your winner was Seth Rollins, but via disqualification. Now, during the match, near the end of the match, Samoa Joe picked up Seth Rollins to do basically a knee breaker, and Seth Rollins grabbed a hold of the top rope, pulled himself into the corner. While Joe's pulling him back out of the corner, he grabs the top turnbuckle, and the padding comes off. Now, this is used to basically disqualify Samoa Joe. Now, Seth Rollins charges in at Samoa Joe. He moves out of the way. Seth runs straight into the bared steel turnbuckle and falls to the ground. And now the ref warns Joe, don't do it again. The ref grabs the pad. He's about to put it on. Joe grabs the pad and throws it away. And uses the turnbuckle once again for his, Yes. I still have coffee on. Excuse the interruption there. That was my wife trying to take care of me, making sure I've got coffee. And now, Samoa Joe does use the bared turnbuckle once again, and that causes a disqualification. Your winner is Seth Rollins. But after the bell is rung, Joe grabs Rollins as Rollins' music stops and sends Rollins into the turnbuckle again and applies the coquina clutch. The referee tries to break the hold, but Joe keeps it locked in until Rollins fades out. Joe finally breaks it and warns Rollins that it's over when he says it's over. And he exits, and that was that for that match. The ending was basically better than the whole match itself, in my opinion. Now, Cole confirms that Miz versus Ambrose with the title on the line for next week. Still to come, Ambrose versus Wyatt in tonight's main event. Yes, that seems to have been changed. I forgot to announce that. It was supposed to be The Miz versus Ambrose at the next pay-per-view Extreme Rules for the Intercontinental title. But now, that will be done next week on Raw. So, again, I guess the Intercontinental title does not get a pay-per-view spot once again. TJ Perkins versus Jack Gallagher. This match started quick. I thought it was going to be a couple second match. Jack Gallagher delivered a massive headbutt to TJP right at the beginning of the match. Oh, I didn't call it a cruiserweight match. TJ Perkins versus Jack Gallagher. Gallagher hit TJ Perkins with or TJP, I should say, that is his new name, with a massive headbutt right at the start of the match. Falls on top of him, got a 2.5 count before TJP kicked out. But the winner of the match in the end would be TJP. After some shenanigans, he rolled Jack Gallagher up and pulled the tights for that extra leverage. And there you go. TJP is your winner. It was a very short match. The best part of that match was the headbutt at the beginning of the match. That was it. The rest of it was quick and sucked. Just like every cruiserweight match when they're on Raw. Now, after the match, Gallagher complains about the handful of tights while TJP celebrates at ringside. TJP sneaks back into the ring and takes out Gallagher from behind. Perkins works on his knee and puts the knee bar on Gallagher. Now, Austin Aries hits the ring and makes the save and fights his way into the ring. Aries is wearing a knee brace, showing that, the knee bar last week injured him greatly, which I doubt. Now, Aries goes for the big 5-arm, but TJP retreats and backs up the ramp, where he's met by Neville, who basically stands in front of him as his protector. And the deal was, if TJP took out Gallagher tonight, he would be in line for a title shot at the Cruiserweight title. Another quick match coming up, Sasha Banks versus Alicia Fox. Crappy match. These women did not work well together. They didn't. Their timing was off, and it started off with hair pulling. I thought they were beyond this. I thought they were past the hair pulling bullshit, and yet Alicia Fox gets into the ring, and it turns into a diva match instead of a women's match. But your winner was Sasha Banks, and I'm not going to go through the match because it blew chunks. It sucked. Didn't care for it at all. Now, after the match, Sasha stands tall as Fox recovers, and we go to replays. The replays may show that Fox had her shoulder up. But to me, it was more her fault. It wasn't that she was trying to kick out. It was she started squirming and ended up twisting out of the roll-up, and that's how her shoulder popped up. It wasn't that she was meant to get her shoulder up. She just fucked it up. That was all. So what do we got up next? We've got the main event, Bray Wyatt versus Dean Ambrose. My feelings on Dean Ambrose in the ring. There's times he's great. He connects with the fans. He connects with the person he's wrestling against. And then there are times where he just comes off as lazy. And I know it's been stated many times before, but this was just another match where he came off as lazy. I don't know what it is. I really don't. And he moved around a lot more than he usually does. It's just everything, like I said, tonight just did not click for me. These matches, there's no substance to them. It was garbage tonight. This match gave me, I gave it again another number 5. Now, Miz and Maurice were sitting on the commentator's booth for this entire match, and as the match progressed, they decided to come down to ringside to get a closer look. And usually when a closer look is needed, shenanigans are going to follow. And so it did. Miz and Maurice both interfered in the match, distracted Dean Ambrose. Miz using the Intercontinental title to club Dean Ambrose in the back. And that did it. It set him up for the Sister Abigail. And your winner, Bray Wyatt, through shenanigans once again from Miz and Maurice. Now, after the bell rang, Miz takes the mic at ringside and announces Wyatt as the winner. He hits the ring and starts beating on Ambrose. Miz takes the mic and says after he wins the title from Ambrose next week on Raw, the whole world will look at him as the Intercontinental Champion and simply say one word. Awesome. The fans begin to boo. Miz drops the mic and the title and leaves with Maurice as his music plays out. And we go off the air with Ambrose looking on from the mat as Miz and Maurice kiss on the ramp. Like I said, to me, it was an average show. I'm not going to say it was bad TV. I just think the matches could have been a little bit better. They could have had a little more substance, and they could have tried harder to make it look like some of these moves were connecting. I don't know what it was going on there tonight. I don't know what, the situation was, but everyone seemed kind of off. And I know they've been busting their ass off in Europe on the European tour. They've been working every day. They've been doing shit every day. And that could be a reason why everything was off. I don't know. It didn't work for me tonight. It really didn't. They had great potential there. They had some great matches. Finn Balor versus The Miz. That should have been a great match. It wasn't. You had Seth Rollins and Samoa Joe. Another great match. Pay-per-view quality match. And it wasn't. And then you got Dean Ambrose, who is the Intercontinental Champion, who hasn't been wrestling at all for a while, finally gets in the ring with Bray Wyatt, and it's another average match. And like I said, my favorite match of the night probably goes to Alexa Bliss, because you could see she was putting effort into it. She was vocal through the entire match. She was putting her all into it, and it looked better than what some of these guys were doing in the ring tonight, and I don't understand that. And she still needs a lot more work in the ring, and she looked better tonight than most of the guys. Makes no sense. But that was my Raw review for, well, it would have been the 8th of May yesterday. And join me tonight. I will be up tonight. And I will bring you the SmackDown review and results. And hopefully I feel a little bit different towards those matches tonight. But if they're going to give us the same as they did tonight, I'm going to say it like, I'm going to call it like it is. If they're not connecting with me, it's garbage. It is. And tonight they just did not, or last night they just did not connect. So this is Pete Wall. Please, if you enjoyed the show, hit that like and subscribe button. Remember, go to my 100 subscriber video and you can sign up by simply commenting in the comment section. Make sure you're a subscriber and you'll be automatically entered into a draw for a Circle of Steel t-shirt. Sizes range from small to 5X. It has a great design on it. The video will show you what the design looks like. The design is vinyl. The t-shirt is top quality. And it's comfortable. So, I will see you tonight. You guys have a good day. And I'm hoping to get some work done on the Polara today. So, I'm out for now.